We've got time for 2 more questions. I've been neglectful back here. Anybody back here? Anybody back here? All right. All right. This gentleman, he's been waving and I'll call on you too. I'll call on you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Senator.
This better be good since you were waving both arms. Go ahead.
My name is Michael Herring. I'm the Secretary of the Hendricks County Democrats, and welcome to Hendricks County. My question for you is, everywhere you go, we've been watching you for over a year, and even here, you have a huge following in young America, and also middle-aged America. And my question is about really Social Security. What are we going to do to protect Social Security, to keep government from raising the retirement age, to ensure we have a future when we retire to where we don't have to keep working, at 65, 70 years old?
Okay, it's a great question. Let me talk about Social Security real quick. We've got a problem with Social Security. It's not a crisis, it's not an imminent crisis, but it's a long-term problem that we've got to deal with. And the sooner we deal with it, the better off we are. Here's the problem. As most of you know, Social Security is not like a 401k account. You're not paying Social Security into an account that has your name on it and then you draw it down when you retire. That's not how it works. What happens is it's an intergenerational obligation. So those of us who are working now, our payroll taxes are going to pay for seniors today. When we retire, hopefully the young people who are working, they'll pay for our retirement. Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. The population is getting older. So it means that we're having fewer workers, more retirees. We have been running a surplus, although George Bush has been taking that money out of the trust fund to help fund the war. So part of the thing we've got to do is make sure we're not spending trust fund money on other things. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is if we don't do anything, the trust fund, even if it has all the money that it's supposed to have, will start running short as you got more retirees and fewer workers. And by about 2042, what will happen is that you'll only be getting about 75 cents on every dollar that was promised if we do nothing. So what do? There are 3 options. One, we could raise everybody's payroll tax. That's not fair because that's already the most regressive tax. In fact, I want to cut taxes to offset the payroll tax for people who are making $75,000 a year or less. So the average family has about $1,000 extra in their pockets to deal with rising costs of fuel and so forth. So I don't want to raise the payroll tax. Option number 2 is to raise the retirement age. Well, if you've been working for 50 years, especially if you're working in a job that is physically demanding, the notion that you're going to keep on working is just not realistic. That is not a good option. There is actually a 3rd option, which is to cut benefits. But the benefits already aren't high enough, so that's not a good option. What's the last option? The last option is to raise the cap on the payroll tax. Now understand this is different from raising the tax. Right now, your payroll, you only pay payroll tax on the first $97,000 that you earn. Now, for most people, that means all the money you earn. For 94% of the population, you are paying, on every dime you earn, you're paying payroll tax. But for that top 6%, they stop paying after $97,000. Now, I'm less concerned about the person who's making 103 or 150. But when my friend Warren Buffett, who made $46 million last year, just in dividend and capital gains income, this before his stocks went up, so he's now worth $56 billion or something. He only pays on the first $97,000. He's paying a fraction of 1% of his income, paying payroll tax on just a fraction of 1% of his income. That's not fair. So if we can adjust the cap Maybe we exempt out some people who are, right above 97,000, but we pick it back up when they get above 200 or 250, for example. Then what happens is that we can get enough money in the system to assure that Social Security will be solvent for the long term. That is, I think, the best solution. By the way, the biggest problem we have in entitlements is not Social Security. That actually, I just described, you can solve fairly easily. The real problem is Medicare and Medicaid, which is going to bankrupt the government soon. The only way we can solve that problem is to actually have a healthcare system for everybody where people are getting more prevention, we're getting lower rates of obesity, lower rates of diabetes, lower rates of heart disease. People are healthier, so they are putting fewer demands on the healthcare system. That's the only way that we're ultimately going to reduce spending